Events will never be perfect. No one can make an event that will make every single attendee come out of it happy. There are things that happen that are out of the control of both the show management and venue. But that also means there are events that were badly managed, such as the infamous DashCon and Fire Festival. From July 30th to August 1st, 2021, an anime convention held in Ontario, California called AniManga was held, and the reviews were mostly negative. So what happened at this event? Well, in this video, we'll discuss some of that. Hey everyone, my name is Sheena, and welcome to The Attendee. This channel is all about conventions and events, primarily focusing on comics, gaming, and anime. So if you're new here and you're into that stuff, be sure to hit that subscribe button. So, quick disclaimer. I have never been to any AniManga event, not even the one that we're going to discuss. I've also never been or worked with AniManga, nor worked or been to the Ontario Convention Center. Everything discussed here are theories based on my knowledge working in the events industry, primarily convention centers. I've watched quite a few vlogs from people who went to AniManga 2021. A lot of my friends also attended the event and read their thoughts on it, as well as saw some pictures of their experience. It's not the same as experiencing the event myself, but I think I got a pretty good idea of what went down, especially seeing different points of views. The biggest complaint I've seen across the board is how long the line was to get into the venue. Now, AniManga is not the first event to have what is now dubbed LineCon. Anime Expo has been notorious for having long lines just to pick up badges. There was one year where the line was so long that it wrapped through the surrounding neighborhoods. And they're not alone. Majority of conventions I've been to had long lines. Even back in 2007, when I went to Anime Expo for the first time at the Long Beach Convention Center, the line was long and under brutal summer SoCal sun. The only ones I remember lines not being long were events held in hotels. As for AniManga, well, it wasn't any better. There were tweets from people claiming they waited 2 hours to get in. Some got in line at 10 a.m., which was when the exhibit hall was supposed to open, only to still be in line at around 2 p.m. And the wait wasn't the worst part. That weekend, Ontario, California hovered in the high 90s, almost 100 degrees Fahrenheit. There were reports that ambulance had to take a few people away due to heat stroke. I remember in high school, all sports were canceled when temperatures reached that high. To stand out in the sun for 4 hours in the heat is ridiculous. So what happened here? There could be a few reasons as to how this happened. And again, all these reasons are speculations based on my knowledge of the events industry. One potential reason is that the event didn't hire enough people to process attendees and or didn't hire enough security at the door. Now, this would be the responsibility of AniManga's show management team. For people processing the attendees for badges, this is usually done by the show's employees or volunteers. If they know how many people will be attending each day based on the ticket sales, they should be able to hire enough people to process them. In terms of security, this differs from venue to venue. It's very common for the venue to require the event to hire an outside security company. Depending on the venue, the show management can choose any outside security company. Some venues are contracted with specific security companies that show management has to choose from. Now, I don't know the Ontario Convention Center's protocol in terms of security, but I'm going to assume that it's an outside security company, and this is based on the two venues that I worked at. The last two venues I worked for required an outside security company. When I attended events at the LA Convention Center in Los Angeles and even McCormick Place in Chicago, I recognized that they also used outside security companies. And usually this is at the expense of the event, not the venue. In most cases, show management has to submit to the venue that a contract has been signed with a security company. In other cases, if the venue contracts with an outside security company for a specific event, they will bill it back to show management. Typically, the venue security's purpose, like the actual employee on the venue's payroll, is to just take care of the building, like making sure no one is sneaking in the back area or whatever. They're not really responsible for checking if an attendee has their badge. That is more on the event's security. There's a great video from Twisted Disaster, and I'll link it down below, who talked a lot about the issues with security. I guess they were pretty strict with food coming into the venue, but not having that same energy for actual security issues like a weapons check. There was one vlog from Laura Nuzef, and I'll also link it down below, where they weren't even checking for badges at the front door. So basically anyone could have walked in without a badge. The vlog from Lunchbox 5930, which again I'll link down in the description, showed that people at the badge pickup didn't even ask for his email showing which badge he purchased. They just took his word for it. In terms of food, it's pretty common for venues to not allow outside food and beverage. All the venues I've worked for had this rule. However, I've never heard it being this strict as described by Twisted Disaster and other attendees. Venues have typically been lenient with water bottles and sealed snacks. I've personally brought in granola bars and trail mixes to multiple events before. One of the venues I worked for even has a water bottle filling station at the drinking fountain. Typically, they'll be strict on things like bringing in a cooler full of food and drinks. Catered outside food is also usually not allowed as well. But just based on what a lot of people said, it seems a little too strict. We are still in the midst of a pandemic, whether you believe it or not. According to the AniManga website, their FAQ page states, yes, attendance at AniManga Ontario 2021 has been reduced to 5,000 attendees per day, which is less than 50% normal capacity. Now, I don't know if that number is based on the entire venue or based on the spaces they are contracted to, so let's take a look at the convention center's floor plan. First, let's talk about the exhibit hall. According to their website, the Ontario Convention Center's exhibit hall has a gross square footage of 70,000. A good rule of thumb for calculating square footage per attendee is roughly 8 to 10 square feet. So with 7,000 square feet of space, the hall alone should only be able to hold 7,000 to 8,750 people. But we also have to take into account the exhibits that were there. Looking at the AniManga floor plan, there were a total of 150 exhibit booths. I can't tell how big the booths are, but I'm going to make the assumption that they are on the smaller standard size of booth, which is 8x8. So from 70,000, you're removing 1,200 square feet of space for booths, which goes down to 68,800 square feet. Next is the arcade area of the exhibit hall. I don't know how many cabinets were there, nor do I know how big each is. Lunchbox's vlog has a walkthrough of the gaming area, so I was able to kind of get an idea of the layout. It looks like there are 24 smaller cabinets back to back with a larger game on the end caps. Let's assume each cabinet needs a space of 5x5 each, and the larger ones requiring 10x10. So now from the 68,800 square feet, we would take away 160, which would go down to 68,640 square feet of attendance space. The tournament area is hard to tell as well. In Lunchbox's video, I can see about 7 6-foot tables on one side. In WoW VJ's TLR's vlog, which I'll link down below as well, it looks like the tournament area is closed off unless you're playing or spectating, I think. It's kind of hard to tell, but it was definitely closed off. His video shows the next side of it, which looks like about 4 6-foot tables long. So doing the math, this closed off area takes about 1,008 square feet from the 68,640, which goes down to 67,632 square feet. On the floor plan, it mentions these cosplay photo sets, but none of the vloggers points them out. Even in the background, you can't see them, so I'm going to make the assumption that they were never up, so I'm going to omit that from my calculations. Next is the stage area. There weren't a lot of videos that show the scope of the main stage, so this was a bit hard to calculate as well. Based on all the videos, there were chairs, but there were also a lot of people standing around, so I'm just going to take into account the actual stage itself. Stage risers usually come in 6x8 and 8x8, so let's go on the smaller end of 6x8 and assume there are 5 pieces, which totals to 240 square feet of unusable space, bringing down the total to 67,392 square feet. The AniManga floor plan also shows a press lounge, a volunteer lounge, and premium attendee lounge. I haven't seen any videos or pictures of these, so based on the floor plan and how it compares to the other spaces, I'm going to assume that another 1,200 square feet is taken, so that brings it down to 66,192 square feet of attendee space. Now, if we were going to take the pre-pandemic rule of thumb of 8 to 10 square foot per person and take into account the space exhibits and other structures take up, the exhibit hall should only hold 6,619 to 8,274 people. According to the International Association of Exhibits and Events, or the IAEE, the pandemic increased square footage per person to 28 square feet, meaning that the empty exhibit hall should only hold 2,500 people. Taking into account all the exhibits and structures, the exhibit hall should only hold 2,364 people, way less than the 5,000 people listed on their FAQ. But that is not the only space that AniManga has. They also had the ballroom for Artist Alley. Based on multiple vlogs, it looks like AniManga used the entire ballroom at the convention center, which totals to 20,000 gross square feet. Using pre-pandemic calculations, an empty ballroom should only hold between 2,000 to 2,500 people. But again, we need to take into account the Artist Alley tables. Now, based on AniManga's floor plan, there were a total of 240 tables for Artist Alley. There were 24 blocks of 6-foot tables, with each block having 10 tables, each back to back. Assuming each block is 30 feet long and 8 feet wide, especially with how cramped Twisted Disaster explained it, all 24 blocks are taking away 5,760 square feet, bringing down the attendee space to 14,240 square feet. In pre-pandemic times, this amount of space should only let in 1,424 to 1,780 people. In post-pandemic calculations, there should only be 509 people in Artist Alley at once. But there is one more space that AniManga used, and that is room 103 for the Dreamland Maid Cafe. They don't list this on their floor plan, but I do see it in Lunchbox's vlog, as well as the room number. Now, I can't find the square footage of the meeting rooms for the Ontario Convention Center. At the time of my research, I also can't find pictures or vlogs showing the entire room. I did see pictures from the Dreamland Instagram that the tables were small bistro tables for only 2 to 3 people, and that they also had a stage for performance. I'm gonna make the assumption that they only had 20 to 30 people in there at a time. Honestly, it might be less since they do have staging, and they might also use the room for cooking food, but let's just use this number for now. So, taking into account structures, exhibitors, Artist Alley tables, and the increase of 28 square feet per person recommended by the IAEE, the total number of people the event should have had per day was 2,903. That is way less than the 5,000 listed on their website. My guess was the 5,000 was listed for empty spaces or noted for theater setup. The attendee cap itself was way more than what the space should have been able to hold, taking into account the pandemic. And not only that, but there were reports that they even oversold that cap. Twisted Disaster noted in her review that they ran out of Saturday badges and were giving out Friday badges. And not only that, but they weren't even checking for badges at the front door, and that anyone could have walked in for free, after waiting in a long line, as we saw in Laura's vlog. The overcrowding could have definitely contributed to the long lines we discussed earlier. Now, for events like these, the show management usually have to report to the venue how many tickets were sold. Based on those numbers, both venue and show management can adjust staffing on both ends. The venue, with the help of fire marshal, will usually tell show management on the number of attendees to cap it at based on the event's floor plan. I can't tell where the mismanagement or miscommunication of all this was. Did AniManga know to cap it at a smaller number? Were they told by the venue that 5,000 was okay? Or did AniManga know to cap it around 3,000 but still kept selling tickets regardless? Events are difficult to plan together. There are so many different moving pieces that have to be managed, and planning usually starts months and months in advance. People seem to have enjoyed AniManga 2019, but there's one thing that I think may have contributed to this disaster. AniManga had planned and expected to be at the Fairplex Expo Center in Pomona, California. This was where AniManga 2019 was held, where 2020 was supposed to be held, and where they were planning to hold it in 2021. If you don't know, the Fairplex is a very large area with multiple event spaces, from an expo hall to sports facilities and more. Again, I've never been to any AniManga event, but in a tweet from 2019, they were expecting their 2020 event to use 110,000 square feet of the expo hall. I assume this is the same as their 2019 event and what they expected for 2021. The expo hall at the Fairplex alone is 20,000 square feet larger than the exhibit hall and ballroom combined at the Ontario Convention Center. The last time AniManga tweeted that the event was going to be held at the Fairplex was April 17th, 2021. 1 month later, after only tweeting one more time about ticket prices, on May 18th, 2021, they tweeted out that they were moving to the Ontario Convention Center. This was because the Fairplex was still going to be used as a vaccination site during the time of the convention. After trying to find a new venue, then contracting with Ontario, AniManga only had half of May, all of June, and all of July to downsize the event to a smaller venue. I think this is where a lot of the problems originated. They probably sold all their booths and Artist Alley tables and sold way more tickets than Ontario could have held. You can see that after they announced they're moving to Ontario, there was one tweet sharing ticket prices and one retweet sharing family tickets from an Inland Empire Yelp Twitter account. They basically avoided advertising ticket sales as well as Artist Alley and booth sales after the change of venue. The event was doomed the moment they had to move to a different venue. but that is just my thoughts on it. I hope you guys liked this video, and if you did, please leave a like and hit that subscribe button. If you want to see more of this kind of content, let me know in the comments below. Again, all of this is just my speculations based on vlogs, pictures, and other information I can find on the internet. You can find all the links to everyone I cited down in the description below. But that is it for me. I will see you all next time.